Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be going over Mercury in the 8th house in Synastry. So this video is for you if you are experiencing this with another individual. Maybe your Mercury is in their 8th house, or maybe their Mercury is in your 8th house. Or if you're a cross watcher, welcome as well. So in terms of Synastry, basically the whole concept of Synastry overall is to see what is going on energetically between the two individuals. Now, the 8th house deals with sex, death, rebirth, joint finances, taxes, and the occult. It deals with power and control, power struggles. It's also going to deal with sometimes the breakdown of the ego, certain shadow traits, and basically transformation of the self. So when you guys are experiencing an 8th house Synastry type of situation, regardless of what is going on between, let's say, the rest of the energies, there's still going to be some form of transformation that takes place toward the end of this situation or dynamic. The Mercury energy in our natal charts deals with our communication. It's our intellect. It's how we communicate. It is how we express ourselves as well. So in terms of Synastry, I always say it depends what is going on first energetically in both individuals' natal charts. It depends how evolved are the two people and what signs are we talking about here really, because let's say you yourself have already 8th house energy taking place in your own natal chart, or Scorpio energy or Pluto aspects taking place in your own natal chart. Well, in that particular case, you're going to be used to this energy already, and you could be seeking these types of relationships. Other types of Plutonian types of dynamics and relationships are probably going to resonate with your own energetic field. Now, let's say you don't have these energies taking place in your natal chart. Maybe you are in the more lighthearted energies. Well, when this 8th house Synastry takes place, it can absolutely feel intense. This magnetic pull. You feel like you can't stay away from this person. You're kind of like, what is going on here? Why am I so drawn to this individual? Now, what I will say in this particular situation with the 8th house, the 8th house energetically is kind of like a vortex. So it is going to be pulling you in energetically is basically what's going to be taking place here. Now, I've heard different things when it comes to Synastry. Sometimes people say the house person feels it more. Other times people say the planet person feels it more. Honestly, what I'm going to say in this particular situation is the 8th house individual is going to be pulling the planet person in. But when you're involved in the situation, it could be one or both of the people that do feel this energy, because it's like the energy is present and energy is energy at the end of the day. And the more you get energetically involved with someone, especially if you're getting energetically enmeshed with them, let's say you're spending a lot of time with this individual, and let's say it is a sexual dynamic, which a lot of the time 8th house contacts could be something intimate, or even let's say it is a romantic dynamic, well then you guys are really going to be getting energetically enmeshed, and it's going to feel very much intense is basically what it is. With these types of situations, you might feel like you can't leave this person, or you're constantly pulled to this person, or you might feel an obsessive energy about this person is basically what it is. You might not understand what is going on here. But really what's going to be taking place here is going to basically be shadow work. So the 8th house energy being present here is going to be bringing to the surface anything that is chilling at the base of the spine. That's the way that I see it. Anytime we have intense sexual energy that is taking place between two people, now here's the thing where it gets interesting. The sexual energy can be present between two people, but it might not necessarily be someone that you are getting physically involved with. Just that energy being present is basically doing its thing. It's bringing everything to the surface that is chilling again at the base of the spine. So it could manifest this way, and let's say it is more so a platonic dynamic, or let's say it is a family type of dynamic or a friend type of dynamic. It's not going to be this type of energy. It could just be tension. So the energy can manifest in one of these ways, but basically what's happening is the energy is bringing to the surface everything that is chilling at the base of the spine. So any sort of shadow traits, any sort of things that you haven't looked at, any things that you are keeping hidden about yourself are basically going to come to the surface in these types of 8th house dynamics. So with that being said, it always depends what sign is taking place here, what's going on in the individual natal charts. Because once again, let's say it is a more lighthearted energy that's taking place between both of the people. Well, in this particular case, let's say the Mercury goes into the 8th house of the other individual. Maybe there's certain things here in terms of communication or expression or expressing the self, or even what this person thinks. Let's say the 8th house person could have kept hidden about themselves. Maybe there are things that the Mercury person pulls out of the 8th house person that maybe the 8th house person wasn't necessarily ready to express or communicate, or let's say expose. For example, there could be this energy of feeling very exposed in a lot of these 8th house dynamics, especially if one or both of the parties haven't explored these energies within them. Because this does deal with power and control, the 8th house person could, let's say, withhold information. Let's say the Mercury person could be someone who is very communicative, or let's say they are someone who expresses a lot, or like wants to speak a lot, or wants to talk about things, or maybe they're very confrontational going into the 8th house person's energy, maybe the 8th house person isn't like this. It depends how evolved the two people are, because it does deal with power and control. The energy is interchangeable, so it could be one or both of the parties where this is taking place, because eventually it becomes very energetically enmeshed. But there could be this like power and control, this push-pull energy taking place between the two people, where it's like maybe one person has very good communication skills and the other person doesn't necessarily have good communication skills, and this could, let's say, be a trigger for one of the people in this type of situation. Maybe the 8th house person, or again, if the roles are reversed, maybe the other individual senses this, and let's say they withhold information and they don't speak and they don't communicate. It could be, let's say, things like silent treatment, if we really go into the dark aspects of this energy, where it's like this triggers something, let's say, within the other individual in this dynamic. Now, trigger warning, but all of these 8th house dynamics, when they are underdeveloped or unevolved, or they are really in the shadow energy, they could very much be abusive dynamics. Especially if we look at silent treatment, this is a form of abuse. So if you are in one of these dynamics, definitely see if you can seek out help and how you can potentially get out of these situations, because it is this whole concept of power and control that is taking place, and even domination, for example, because that 8th house energy can also want to dominate, let's say, the other individual. So it could be the 8th house person, or it could be the Mercury person. Again, the energy is interchangeable, and energy is energy at the end of the day. One person can be pulling it out of the other person, or vice versa, or it could turn into a huge energy battle between the two people, where both people are kind of fighting for the power and control in the particular situation. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard the lower vibrational aspects of Scorpio or the 8th house, where it's like they do stink, is really what that is. So there could be a lot of stinging or poking at each other, or poking at each other's wounds in this dynamic, snide comments, these types of things, when it is in that lower expression. So sometimes in these situations, the best thing to do is to walk away, especially when it comes to these power and control situations. But I'm sure, again, you guys have heard maybe even of like the term karmic relationship and these types of things. Sometimes it could be this, and it is quote unquote karmic because something is taking place here that needs to be looked at. Maybe in the situation, because it is Mercury, one or both of the parties are working on their communication skills. How do they speak? Do they speak kind words? Do they have to say these like snide comments, for example, or things that are on their mind when they are upset, for example? So it depends. It really depends how evolved are the two people and how much are they willing to work on themselves. Because the thing is, obviously nobody is perfect at the end of the day, but as long as you're willing to work on yourself within a relationship, well, then you can make some progress. Sometimes in these types of dynamics, something that can take place is one of the people in the situation could feel like the other person is really bringing these things out of them, and they're not ready for this, let's say, breakdown of the ego, confirmation with the car honking in the background. I'm not sure if you guys heard that in the video, but it's like sometimes they're not ready for this. So what they're going to do is they're going to project it onto the other person, and it's going to bring up even more, let's say, feelings of anger and resentment and these types of things, for it to like just really go into the toxic direction where they're just projecting onto the other person because the other person is triggering them. But instead of, let's say, looking at themselves and looking at their behaviors and maybe where they can grow and change, they are just, let's say, blaming the other person. So again, if you're in one of these situations, probably the best thing to do is to walk away if it's possible. If you guys are able to catch this early on, these types of red flags, well, it's even better for you, because then you'll have that discernment and you'll be able to walk away early on before even getting involved with this other individual, where you kind of have that hope that you can change them or transform them. If you are in that energy, just understanding that sometimes there's really nothing you can do, and the best thing to do sometimes is to walk away and just allow the other person to self-destruct if they are really in that energy. So that's kind of like the shadow side of this energy, which again, it usually will occur for people who are not familiar with the 8th house energy, or they haven't done the work within themselves, or they don't know how to, let's say, pick up on this energy when it's kind of pulling them into that energetic vortex of intensity. So absolutely could be this. So that is one of the manifestations when it goes into the shadow of these energies. Obviously, it's a plane of duality at the end of the day. And again, depends how evolved the two people are. Let's say they are both evolved and they're willing to work on the communication to get to that common ground, and they're not in the shadow energy of trying to get that power and control over the other person. Like, let's say they're a little bit more evolved. They're going into the divine version of the 8th house, which is such a beautiful energy when it is evolved and when it is in its divinity, which basically in this situation could be a telepathic connection, a very intuitive connection. It could be very much a deep connection where you guys really get each other, where it's like you guys sometimes even finish each other's sentences, where it's like you know what the other person is thinking, or maybe you say the same thing at the same time. It could very much be an intuitive telepathic connection in this way. There could be a lot of telepathy that takes place here. Let's say you think of this person and they call you, or it's like you guys love speaking about deep things, deep conversations, like very intimate types of conversations, like about the self, about the soul, about the universe, about astrology, for example, hidden things, occult things, absolutely it could go into this direction as well. That divine energy. And let's say maybe this is the first time this is happening for you and you haven't had this experience with anybody else before. Absolutely, it could be a challenge to let this go. So that's another thing with the 8th house energy overall. There's always that challenge of letting the other person go. And sometimes you don't have to. Let's say it is a healthy dynamic and you guys really understand each other and you guys get each other and you're not in the shadow of this energy. Absolutely, it could be a very, very beautiful, intimate dynamic between the two individuals. So it depends at the end of the day with all these Synastry placements, what's going on, how evolved are the two people, or how much are the people willing to work on themselves. Let's say take accountability for their own inner things and shadows and things that have to basically be cleared, because that 8th house does deal with jealousy, manipulation, possessiveness, control, like I mentioned, the fear of abandonment, the fear of losing this person, and in going into these shadow energies, which are all human shadow traits, I find. Here's the thing, like with 8th house energy overall, it's like what I've noticed is either you have this energy taking place in your chart already, so you transmute these lower vibrational shadow human behaviors, which I find most people have. So either it takes place within your own chart, or it'll take place during a transit, or it'll take place in a Synastry type of dynamic when a person comes into your life and you're experiencing this situation. And then of course you have the people who have their resting lives, but that's a different conversation for a different day. The NPC type of energies. But anyways, regardless, this is basically how it works from what I've noticed, and especially because we are just in a time of shadow work and clearing all of these collective shadows, you will see it's going to be one of these 3 situations where these things get brought to the surface for you to clear in these dynamics. So it's going to be the willingness within the two people of how much they're willing to work on that, or again, maybe both people are involved and it is in this divine energy and it is this intimate, deep dynamic. So it depends really at the end of the day. But this is the overall idea for Mercury in the 8th house Synastry. I'm going to wrap up this video here. I do hope you guys enjoyed my video on Mercury in the 8th house Synastry. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.